Today on Investigate TV Plus, the quest to save thousands of lives.
We can build cars that do not allow impaired drivers to kill people or seriously injure people on the roads. Why wouldn't we want to do that?
We have an in-depth look at technology some critics say infringes on rights, while those who have lost loved ones argue it's about preventing another crash.
In loving memory of the Abbas family, no more victims.
Plus, water quality concerns after a conservation project.
When I'm in the shower, it smells like you're in an indoor swimming pool.
Why opponents argue a plan to help an important species is doing more harm than good.
Then, a warning to women about a life-threatening condition that can happen spontaneously without any signs of heart disease. I'm Tisha Powell.
And I'm Lee Zurich, here from a mother who survived the silent killer and is now inspiring others to look after their health.
I'm still here with two very healthy, lovely boys and my husband, so I am on the good side of it, but it could have gone very differently.
In-depth stories that inform and inspire. You're watching Investigate TV Plus. Imagine the heart-stopping moment, headlights coming toward you, the reckless decision of another driver changing everything in an instant. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration's most recent data, in 2021, more than 13,000 people were killed in crashes involving a drunk driver. That's about 37 deaths every day. For advocates and officials alike, the race is on to end these preventable tragedies.
Their latest push for new vehicles to be equipped with impaired driving detection technology, experts say, could save countless lives.
As federal regulators explore the development of a new safety standard, one lawmaker is raising questions about whether the tech infringes on drivers' rights.
Reporter Heather Graff introduces us to one woman who has joined the fight because she knows how high the stakes truly are.
The last thing I had texted was, "Did you make it home safe?"
Rena Abbas Taylor remembers the last message she sent her sister Rima like it was yesterday.
I hadn't heard back from her, and you know, it wasn't atypical, but something didn't feel right.
After a week visiting family in Florida, Rima Abbas, her husband, and 3 children were driving back to their home outside Detroit.
They had gotten on the road and had informed us that they were going to be driving through the night, which I know my mom and I were pretty concerned about. They insisted they were fine.
But hours later, Rena would learn the unthinkable.
They were hit and killed by a wrong-way drunk driver at 2:30 in the morning on I-75. Everyone died instantly.
And what went through your mind in that moment?
This can't be real. This can't be real.
Grief from the 2019 tragedy consumed Rena for years.
It's like the lights went out. I went offline and nothing mattered.
It wasn't until she connected with Mothers Against Drunk Driving that all that changed. The advocacy group gave her a lifeline, as she calls it.
It was like it shook me awake.
And they introduced her to technology they say could be a game changer in the fight against drunk driving fatalities.
Do you view this as a matter of life and death?
It is a matter of life and death.
MAD's Chief Government Affairs Officer, Stephanie Manning, says the organization has been pushing to get impaired driving technology in vehicles for more than 15 years. And an analysis by the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety found that mandating detection technology could save 10,000 lives annually.
We can build cars that do not allow impaired drivers to kill people or seriously injure people on the roads. Why wouldn't we want to do that?
But many of the systems are still in development, including breath and touch-based alcohol detection sensors and cameras that can assess eye movement to indicate if a driver is intoxicated. The Driver Alcohol Detection System for Safety program, a collaboration between NHTSA and top automakers, says their fully passive breath sensor should be available by 2026, while the touch sensor's timeline hasn't yet been determined.
It's not a question of if this is going to happen, it's a question of when, and how will this be sort of done in a way that people can, number one, get on board with.
And that's exactly what federal regulators are working to figure out, because in 2021, Congress approved a bipartisan law called the HALT Act. It directed NHTSA to establish a safety standard that would require new passenger vehicles be equipped with impaired driving detection technology. Congresswoman Debbie Dingell co-led that legislation.
The fact of the matter is it's going to save lives. Too many people are killed by drunk drivers every year.
For the Abbas family, the act has special meaning, named in honor of their lost loved ones.
To know that these people who didn't get much time on this earth can have an impact on this earth in that way is everything.
For 2 years, there wasn't much progress, but in December 2023,
today's announcement lays the groundwork for an impaired driving rulemaking that will seek the most mature and effective technology.
NHTSA released what's known as an advance notice of proposed rulemaking.
There are a lot of rulemakings that have been mandated by Congress that never happen. So it's extremely significant that the administration said, we're going to start the process.
But not everyone is on board with the technology. As NHTSA wrote in its advance notice, misinformation and misbelief that there exists a right to drive while drunk have caused some individuals to believe the rulemaking might unduly infringe upon their rights.
It's no secret I tried to defund the mandate.
Among the HALT Act's outspoken critics is Congressman Thomas Massie, who argues the technology isn't there yet.
I can tell you right now, it doesn't exist.
And he says it could violate a fundamental right to travel freely.
What would it take for you to support this mandate to put this technology into cars?
I would have to know that civil liberties aren't going to be infringed.
While NHTSA has said any technology that becomes standard would be passive, meaning it has to work without any action from the driver, regulators acknowledge it also needs to be reliable.
We don't, for example, want to have false positives where somebody can't start their vehicle.
The Alliance for Automotive Innovation, a trade group that represents most global automakers, declined to speak on camera, saying in a statement, every single day, automakers are working to make vehicles safer and smarter and to help address avoidable tragedies caused by behavior like drunk or distracted driving.
In loving memory of the Abbas family, no more victims.
Renna says she won't stop fighting until the technology is in all vehicles.
Do you think they would be alive today if that technology was already in cars?
I absolutely 1000% believe that my family would be alive today if that technology was in cars.
And she doesn't want her story to become another family's story.
We didn't ask for this moment, but we certainly hope that if there is something we can do to prevent anyone else from losing their life or any other family from going through what we have, we will do whatever we can.
NHTSA has until November 2024 to release a rulemaking, but they first need to make sure the technology is ready.
When the final safety standard is issued, automakers will have at least 3 years to implement it.
Still to come, building bonds with strangers.
It's been a friendship that will last a lifetime. We know that, right, Janet?
Right.
How a group of volunteers hope to inspire more people with the power of human connection.
But first, a move to protect a species caused major complications for a town's tap water.
It messes with your decisions on whether you want to continue to live in a community that's having those problems.
Hear from residents who say they feel forgotten. There are ongoing conservation projects across the country to help endangered wildlife.
But in Oregon, an effort to save a fish threatened a city's water supply. Environmentalists say Chinook salmon are vital in the Pacific Northwest as a source of food. And in 2021, a lawsuit filed by 3 environmental groups forced the lowering of a reservoir by 140 feet to provide the fish safe passage downriver.
At the beginning of 2023, you can see the clear blue water around the Green Peter Dam. It's the Middle Santiam River that once fueled recreation, but by the end of the year, there was very little water left. And residents in Sweet Home say it's caused poor water quality around their city.
Reporter Adrian Thomas spoke to several people about how it's changing their routines and has an in-depth look at possible solutions.
It was literally the day after they started the drawdown. I could tell the water was starting to get murky.
Dozens of people sent us photos showing brown, murky water coming out of their faucets. Kayla Smith is one of them.
I tried to fill my bathtub up with water after work to take a bath, and it was murky and brown.
City leaders say Sweet Home's water treatment plant has been stretched thin since extra sediment and debris built up in the water supply that feeds the plant. Kelsey Young is Sweet Home's city manager.
I don't think any of us, Army Corps included, expected what we have. Our water treatment plant that should have been absolutely ready for any type of drawdown wasn't ready for these type of conditions.
Young also tells us the city had to increase the level of chlorine that's added to the untreated water to combat the murky color. Young says the chlorine levels in Sweet Home's drinking water were still well within state limits, but families there noticed the change.
When I'm in the shower, it smells like you're in an indoor swimming pool. It almost makes your eyes start to water. It's not something you should be showering in, I don't feel like.
People say they're used to that reservoir being not only a reliable source of clean water for their homes, but a tourist attraction for fishermen and other lake recreation. Scott McKee says he's now worried about the town's future.
It messes with your security in your home. It messes with your decisions on whether you want to continue to live in a community that's having those problems and whether people want to move here and buy homes or start businesses.
Greg Taylor works as a fish biologist for the Army Corps and gave testimony in the federal court proceedings. He says because of the judge's order requiring action as soon as possible, lowering Green Peter Reservoir was the only option to provide safe passage for Chinook salmon to migrate out to the Pacific Ocean.
Well, these juvenile fish are pretty surface oriented. And during the wintertime, we only have two pathways for them to get out of the dam. One is the turbine unit. Unfortunately, at this site, that turbine unit doesn't have very good survival associated with it. The second option is a regulating outlet. That's a safe route, but it's very deep in the reservoir and fish can't find it effectively. So drawing the reservoir down helps kind of narrow the depth to that intake.
Taylor says because of salmon migratory patterns, providing a safe passage is vital to survival.
They need to go out to the ocean, get larger, come back in as an adult. So if they don't make that migration, a tiny fraction of them will ultimately end up staying in the reservoir and theoretically could go spawn, but it's a really small fraction. So most of them eventually just die without spawning.
Sweet Home leaders tell us they just want to figure out who to hold accountable for the town's water problems.
I'd rather not have something with the Army Corps. I'd rather us come up with some sort of solution, and I know that they are in a rock and a hard place too.
And people who live in Sweet Home say they feel forgotten, left to deal with the long-term impact of the actions of those who don't truly understand their community.
To the environmental groups, I would say that you need to be more cautious, that you need to be involved in more of the pre-planning and all the possible side effects of the actions that you're forcing upon the federal government, and take ownership. Show up in the community and actually participate, actually answer questions.
The three environmental groups behind the legal effort released a joint statement saying in part, quote, "All communities deserve clean and reliable drinking water, and we are committed to working with state and federal leaders to help craft a solution that provides immediate relief for Sweet Home and other impacted Oregonians." The Army Corps says the reservoir has since been refilled, but the same drawdown operation is planned for at least one more year. At that time, the impact on the salmon population will be reevaluated. In Portland, Oregon, I'm Adrian Thomas.
Up next, a mother suffers 2 heart attacks at the age of 35, and she says she has no clue why.
We don't have heart disease in my family, so generally healthy. As far as I knew.
We have an in-depth look at the condition she's recovering from and the symptoms you should look out for.
Our in-depth coverage continues. You can get connected to Investigate TV Plus on all social media platforms.
Young women with no risk factors for heart disease end up in an emergency room suffering from a heart attack.
The reason? Spontaneous coronary artery dissection, also known as SCAD. The condition happens when layers of the artery wall tear apart without warning, and researchers are not sure what causes it. While patients are often women who are otherwise healthy, SCAD can be life-threatening and has a high risk of reoccurrence.
In Kansas City, a mother survived 2 attacks postpartum. Reporter Sharon Chen shares her journey and insights into the possible symptoms.
Meet the Hodis family. Cute, right?
Nico is 3 and Ellis is 1.
But behind these smiles was almost a world of heartbreak.
I was home alone. I was working from home.
It all started after Isabel's eldest son, Nico, was born.
And I started to feel pain or like a weird pressure in my back.
Then this pain started moving up her neck and into her chest.
I texted my husband and I said, I don't feel well. Something's weird.
In no time, Isabel's husband, Jack, jumped into action.
And I think the one thing that he particularly caught on to was how short of breath I was feeling.
Isabel was rushed to the ER, and through a series of tests, it was determined she had a spontaneous coronary artery dissection, or SCAD.
It is really an injury, a blood clot, or a tear to the blood vessel that supplies the heart muscle. You okay with left arm?
Dr. Anna Gradzinski, cardiologist at St. Luke's Muriel I. Kaufman Women's Heart Center.
On average, we see about 2 patients with this condition per month to our practice.
SCAD is a condition that predominantly affects women. 90% of patients are women.
It is the most common cause of heart attack around pregnancy and in women who are younger than 50.
SCAD hit Isabel not once, but twice.
I can see it clear as day.
The day of the Chiefs' victory parade, the same day she came home from the hospital after second son Ellis was born.
The team had made it onto the stage at Union Station, and I started to feel that same pressure in my back, in between my shoulder blades.
Back to St. Luke's Isabel went, one of few hospitals in the region trained to recognize and treat SCAD.
So we try to allow the artery to heal on its own, which it does generally within 1 to 3 months' time. First event had healed.
Isabel is now on the road to recovery after 2 heart attacks at just 35 years old.
We don't have heart disease in my family, so generally healthy as far as I knew.
It's why doctor and patient are sharing the story now.
I'm still here with 2 very healthy, lovely boys and my husband, so I'm on the good side of it, but I don't, it could have gone very differently.
And why they say, always listen to your body.
If there's a symptom change, that prompts seeking medical attention.
It's a serious event. It's a heart attack.
Dr. Gradzinski says you should be aware of any changes in pain, ongoing fatigue, nausea, and shortness of breath, which is the main one. If you experience any of these symptoms, you're asked to seek medical help immediately. In Kansas City, Missouri, I'm Sharon Chen.
Thank goodness she didn't ignore those symptoms, because busy working moms tend to do that sometimes, and not ignoring it saved her life.
Yeah, 2 young kids, how scary, 35 years old, 2 heart attacks like that. Thank goodness she is getting the help she needs now, yes. All right, up next, fostering friendships while spreading a message of inclusion.
We are going to do this until everybody who wants a friend has one.
See how a walk through nature helps bring a community together.
I'm Viv Williams with the Medical Mythbuster Moment. The myth: memory loss is a normal part of aging. That's not a myth. But if you start to forget things such as a close friend's name or how to drive home after running to the store, that's not normal. And it's a myth to think it is, because you could be experiencing symptoms of Alzheimer's disease or other issues, such as medication side effects or other types of dementia. The American Alzheimer's Association suggests you see a healthcare provider if memory and thinking issues begin to disrupt your life. With this Medical Mythbuster Moment, I'm Viv Williams.
Friendships might take a backseat to your family or work, but the Mayo Clinic says they're important to maintain because good friends are good for our health.
And for decades, a program in Wisconsin has been helping build meaningful bonds between strangers. Reporter Cassandra Cepeda shows us how they're inspiring inclusion.
For 13 years,
A friendship has weathered the seasons in Stevens Point.
Yeah, Jagged.
Sue Anderson and Janet Yakus walk through life like two peas in a pod.
We're just like best friends, you know.
The pair typically meets twice a month.
We go out to eat. We go to community friends stuff. We go to their house sometimes.
The program pairs adults with disabilities with volunteers from the community.
Chlorophyll green. Can everyone say that for me?
Chlorophyll green. The thing I hear most from people is I don't have time to do one more thing. None of us do. None of us have time to take on one more thing, but that's not what this is. This isn't one more thing. It's a person that you get to do all the things you love with.
Things like hiking.
We've gone shopping a lot together.
Yeah.
That's what Janet likes to do.
And games.
We play dominoes or we play Yahtzee.
But if you ask who's the most competitive,
I think we both are.
Yeah.
Sue and Janet are one pair out of 25, a number Samantha Sinsky hopes to grow.
But we are going to do this until everybody who wants a friend has one.
Because she knows just how special the experience can be for everyone involved.
This program changed my life when I started it when I was 20. And I know that it wasn't just changing the life of the person that I was paired with. It totally changed everything in my life. And I want everybody to experience that.
After all, the path of life is better with friends.
It's been a friendship that will last a lifetime. We know that, right, Janet?
Right.
And that's it for us on Investigate TV Plus. I'm Tisha Powell.
And I'm Lee Zurich. Thanks for watching.
Next time on Investigate TV Plus, classrooms face a critical teacher shortage.
The need is there from coast to coast.
How a growing number of school districts are filling that need by looking overseas.